You ever heard the phrase, let me know how I can help? Why do you say that saying that can actually make you more of a politician instead of an empathetic leader?
Yeah, so we've all been there. We've had that leader that at the end of their visit or the end of their call, they ask, how can I help? And to be honest, to a burnt out employee, when a leader asks, how can I help? They get excited. They believe like this is a lifeline. I'm gonna be able to share with my leader so that leader can help move some of the roadblocks or move some of the friction that I'm having as a leader. And they're also thinking, hey, man, my leader actually cares. So they're showing empathy. And that's a feeling of support. But when you give those feelings of support, but support never comes, now you're just a politician. It's just lip service. You've went to the sensitivity training or you've done the leadership class, you've taken the leadership assessment, and you learned the key words that you're supposed to say to sound empathetic, but you truly don't value it. So when you ask questions like, how can I help? But there's no workload change or there's nothing that changes for that associate, you're just a politician. You're just out there talking about my fellow Americans. Like, cut it out.
Hey, do that impression again. I know
my
what
fellow
you
Americans.
Well, look, everyone, welcome back to the lab. Today, we're dissecting weaponizing EQ. We all know the right buzzwords, but does it actually mean, when empathy becomes a mirage, are we actually meaning what we're saying?
Yeah, so corporate training has taught us all the buzzwords, right? So we know, active listening. And when somebody is talking, you need to nod to show them that you are engaged with what they're saying. And the last thing you should ask your team is, how can I help? Because that makes them be supported. So we've all, when we get to a certain level of the leadership ranks, have taken enough of these classes, we've taken enough of these courses to know the right things to say. But empathy without action is a mirage.
Hold on. Go ahead, let's turn back to that.
Yeah.
What did you say there?
So empathy without action is a mirage. It's literally pulling the wool over your team's eyes, but it may help in the short term. You may feel like, they're gonna feel good. But if time after time you using these buzzwords, but there's no change down the road, you're actually gonna lose your team in the long run. They're not gonna believe you because they're gonna realize it's all lip service. Because here's the reality, you gotta be able to acknowledge the pain, but refusing to fix it, it keeps them in this complaint cycle, right? And it's like, your team is reaching out saying, hey, I need help. You got the lifeline, but you just like, you need help? You need help? And then you just turn it around and walking away. So, you really gotta make sure that when you're asking these questions, when you're trying to be this emotionally intelligent leader, that the follow through is coming behind it.
But it's a tough pill to swallow when you're realizing that you've been the one actually doing these things. How do we apply love and grace in this situation? Yeah,
so that moment you realize like, oh man, I'm probably that guy, right? So you're watching this video and you sitting there like, yeah, I do ask, how can I help? After every meeting, but then I don't do anything with that information. It's okay, because when you know better, you could do better. So I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about what that looks like. So grace, first and foremost, is admitting, how can I help, is easier than actually fixing the problem, right? So just asking, how can I help, you can learn that, you're conditioned to say it, it's easy. But actually fixing the problem or removing the obstacles for your team is a lot harder to do. So you gotta be able to admit that, you gotta own that. And then the love part is, there's no better way to put it, you just gotta step into the fire. Like, you gotta take the political hit, and you have to be that insulation from above to protect your team that sits below you. So you have to be able to start to take some of those obstacles. You need to start to listen. You need to start taking some of the heat, even in making those changes, because you know long term that if you're able to help your team and these changes get put into place and your team feels more comfortable, they will become more productive. They will become more loyal. You'll start to get some more of that discretionary effort that we were talking to in other videos. So understanding that, one, you got to admit it. Hey, this is where I was. Two, it's love and grace. Look, I got to start taking some of the heat and really start making the changes that I'm talking about.
And if we're going to be banning these, how can I help? Or if we're supposed to be removing this from our vocabulary and how we're coming at the individuals there, what's a more tactical approach or what's a more empathetic approach? Walk us through the 3E strategy.
Yeah, so it's a couple things. One, it's acknowledging your team, our people, and they don't need lip service. They need a leader. And as a true leader, you have one main job, and that's to remove the obstacles for them to be able to run their race. But how you truly show emotional intelligence is the 3 E's. And that's education, experience, and exposure. So one is giving them the education they need to be able to learn and grow, not only for the role that they're in, but the role that they want. Second is experience. It's being able to provide them with the experiences for that next step or that next level, or to even take it to another level within that last role. But the last one I think is probably most important because they can't get this without you, and it's exposure. So it's being able to get them in front of the decision makers, maybe a one-up, letting them join a leader call with your boss, introducing them to a peer in another line of business, getting them in front of the other people who make decisions to help their career develop. You do that, that's gonna show true emotional intelligence. It's gonna show that you're truly invested in that teammate, right? So you wanna elevate their career. You don't wanna just soothe their complaints. So just saying, hey, I fixed the problem, that's cool, but how do you really help the associate, the individual, the person grow?
And what's the true test of that real empathy and leadership?
Yeah, so the real fingerprint. So what you'll truly see, if you're really showing high emotional intelligence, you have a really high EQ and you're making those changes that we talk about in this video, it leaves a fingerprint on the problem, right? So if nothing changes, you didn't help. If your people are still coming to you and you maybe hear the same complaint week over week, day over day, month over month, you probably are being ineffective in your approach. You'll really start to see change when the desires of your team changes and you ultimately start to see your team feels more comfortable bringing things to you. They're developing, they're growing, they're taking more initiative, and they're really owning the situation. So like always, tap in. I'd love to get your comments. I'd love to get your interaction. And as always, let's get to work.